So I'm looking at a shrine, and some of the things I noticed was that it seems to be an older building.
Okay, the first thing that comes to mind is a lot of colors, turquoise, blues, a lot of intricate geometrical design.
Recursive Reflection is a system of software that allows multiple users to capture and replay reflections about artifacts, in particular those from Muslim cultures and civilizations. By re-listening to their own perspectives, and by being deliberately and slowly exposed to others' perspectives, learners will be engaged in a continuous process of articulation, representation, listening, and re-articulation. These small incremental adjustments with appropriate time lags and prompts will allow learners to build their knowledge of the art form that they are looking at. At the middle and high school levels, Islam is taught either as a religion or it is problematized within geopolitics and media. Studies of Muslim cultures and civilizations are not part of the general study of history. At the college level, Islamic art is taught from a traditional art history perspective. While aesthetics and experience have become more common in art history departments in North America, they are not yet common in the study of Islamic art. This is mirrored in the way that digital image repositories, such as those found on museum websites, are organized. When we think about how a learner actually works with art and architecture, what we need to understand is that learners' perspectives are framed by their own cultural knowledge. Additionally, art and architecture are rich visual forms. Therefore, learners need multiple opportunities to engage with the richness and complexity of these forms. So what we realize is that we have challenge, a problem, a framing. We also need to teach learners how to notice, and we need to let them to realize what they bring to their own perspectives and what they can learn from others. Ultimately, what we need to do is to teach learners to develop new ways of actually looking at online images of art and architecture from Muslim cultures and civilizations. At the center of the solution is aesthetic phenomenology, and what is core in that is the idea of engaging directly with the concrete details of the art form, and then using those to start to understand it as a whole. One of the key collaborations in my design process was working with Valerie Gonzalez, who is an expert in using aesthetic phenomenology to study Islamic art. What Dr. Gonzalez assisted me with was developing scaffolded sequences for looking at Islamic art. In particular, in addition to the basic sequence that I had developed, she helped me to develop a sequence where you would layer on the audio of various Quranic ayats or poetry that were represented in calligraphy on different kinds of artifacts or in architecture, such as on this mosque lamp or on the walls of the Alhambra here, and to use that as another way to prompt the reflection. Another approach that she helped me develop was a comparative approach, where you would look at two pieces of art juxtaposed next to each other to see how they were different in their precise detail. In this kind of an approach, what is key is keeping the experience of the art central to the learning experience and layering everything else on top of that.
It's not something that when we've been taught it, it's very much you're reading out of a textbook or you're being taught something by a professor. There's really very little time for someone to go back and think about what they've learned or think about material that they're reading for the first time. And so I think the insights that like students themselves could come up with would be huge.
Another idea which is central to the solution is that of developing expert vision, which is done through highlighting and coding what you have already noticed.
What we know with practice is that kids get more refined.
Right.
In their observations. They get more refined in their ability to draw inferences. They get more refined at the number of connections that they're making. So I think for them, it's also that tangible evidence of their growth.
A unique feature of this system is that it allows the learner to replay back and to tag the reflection that he or she has made on the actual art form, and to notice the actual features of their reflection. Watch as this user tags his own reflection. He's noticing details, questions, connections, feelings, and insights in his own response.
Okay, so I don't know exactly what I'm looking at, but seems like there are forms of whirling dervishes on here. I like the bright blue. It contrasts with the goldish background. I see some calligraphy on the left-hand side, and the crinkles make it seem like it could be paper, so I don't think it's carved or embedded anywhere. Maybe it's a drawing or a painting. I like the small light blue freckles everywhere. They're also very interesting. I think it's a good idea because no one really, like I for one don't sit down that often and think, oh, what like I'm not forced to reflect on my reflection. And I think it's important that people be aware of what they notice about things and how they can maybe improve.
I really like the concept of experiencing the art first before you embed it in the cultural context. So really building students' awarenesses of looking for details. And I like the fact that it's inquiry based. Kids are coming to their own understandings, what they're noticing, what they're learning from other people, then allows them to generate their own questions. I like the fact that they can hear others' ideas, but they have the advantage of time to process that information, and it's not like conversation is lost.
Yeah.
Whereas this allows you to go back and replay, re-listen. It's the capturing of the data.
The instant capturing.
The instant capturing. And the ability to see tangibly over time the change in the quality of their response. You know, we've done a lot of formative assessment in terms of helping kids learn how to read a photograph, for example.
Right.
And then we kind of come to the summative evaluation. I can do the before and after, but there's no recording or evidence of the process.
I think that what I might be missing is that really in-depth learning of those micro pieces and having kids reflect on their own experience with that. And I think that what that would do would be to inform their more global observations. And I think that it would make that shift between going from micro to macro a little bit more tangible for them. I'm perhaps adept at starting with the whole. I don't miss that piece of starting with the experience.
Yeah.
And then I go back and I do pull out the details, but like a moment for me in our conversation was when you said we sometimes don't go back to the whole again, and I think that might be a connection that I'm missing in my teaching. And so I think that using this would maybe force that, and maybe also make sure that I'm slowing down in my process to go back to that macro experience of the text or whatever it is.